So the PlayStation 5 Pro will be launching worldwide on November 7th, and people will finally get their hands on what the future of the PlayStation 5 holds with this new updated system. Now, of course, there are review units out there, including review units given to people that probably don't deserve it, like people who don't really get views or who don't even make content. Why does Jeff Keighley have one? Like, he's a multi-millionaire. I think he can spring for the $700 to pick one up. But alas, all of these are held back by embargoes. People can't talk about that if they were sent a PlayStation 5 Pro quite yet. But that hasn't stopped people who weren't sent a PlayStation 5 Pro, who happened to get an early one, from already talking about it. There's been teardowns that have been posted online. New information has been revealed. Sony has talked about new things themselves. And I kind of want to talk about this because obviously, I've been pretty outspoken about the PlayStation 5 Pro since it was revealed. I didn't like the reveal of the system, the rollout of it. I wasn't a huge fan of things like that. And many people thought I was never going to get one of these systems. I am not buying a PlayStation 5 Pro at the launch of the system, but does that mean in the future I might not pick one of these up, or I might end up getting one of these because of what it can do? That's kind of what I want to talk about in today's video. So as far as what the PlayStation 5 Pro is doing at launch, we have a $700 system that if you want a physical drive attached to it, you have to buy it separately. It does seem like Sony has manufactured more of these, so that's a good thing. And now you're bumping up the price to about $800 plus taxes and stuff like that. It's a very expensive system, and it's a system that I don't think Sony necessarily expects to sell like a whole bunch of. I think this is going to be a more niche product, especially right now when it launches, because everything we've seen for the PlayStation 5 Pro in terms of enhancements of games is for games that have already released. Sony hasn't actually shown us anything for upcoming games that could be potentially a difference when we're talking about something like a PlayStation 5 Pro version of a game versus a standard PlayStation 5 version of the game. Now, if I was a huge fan of the PlayStation 5 and I wanted some enhanced things on the games that have currently come out, the first-party games, I might be a little bit more interested in the PlayStation 5 Pro. But really, Spider-Man 2 was really enjoyable, but I think that looks really good. Ratchet and Clank was enjoyable. That looks really good. Astrobot was enjoyable. That looks really good already. I don't need to go back and play these games just to see a little bit of additional fidelity, like in the distance, or, like additional ray tracing and stuff like that. To me, that's something that's not worth that large price point. The current library of the PlayStation 5 has a lot of games. There are first-party games, there are third-party games, but I feel like I'm pretty much caught up on what I want to play that is going to be, enhanced on this system. And when I look at things like this with the PlayStation 5, I know there are a lot of people that have said that they wanted a little bit more out of their system. And I feel like that's because of the fact that Sony is starting to embrace the PC side of gaming a bit more. Spider-Man 2 had like a year turnaround. So if that's going to be the future going forward, that turnaround time to getting these games on PCs that are stronger, that can do things like mods and stuff that you could go completely crazy on with ultra widescreen support and all this sort of stuff. Like, I feel like the PlayStation 5 Pro is to kind of potentially bridge that gap for people so that they aren't maybe rushing out there to build a PC, because yeah, you could build a PC for about $800, but is it going to have all the bells and whistles that the PlayStation 5 Pro would have? So I feel like it's kind of that potential stopgap for diehard Sony fans. But in the same breath, as it stands right now, this isn't a system that I really need, because I don't have a problem with a vast majority of PlayStation 5 games. I know people bitch about games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Oh, it looks blurry and stuff like that. They've done patches to it to fix things, and as long as you play on the performance mode, like, I guess if you get really up close with it, like, maybe it looks a little bit grainy, but is that worth the investment for me personally? No. Like, I'm cool with the standard version on my PlayStation 5. I'm cool with the way the game runs here. This isn't a situation like a Nintendo Switch, where we have desperately needed a revision to this system that has more power. When first party games are struggling to run at 30 frames per second at times, or at, HD resolutions in things like when you're playing it docked, or when you go to handheld mode, you get in like 500p and 360p at times with first party games. This has been a system that has needed something like this because I feel like the benefit would be much greater. Whereas with the PlayStation 5 Pro, it's more of an incremental upgrade. And I feel like for a lot of people, especially with the library of games that are available right now, that's not really going to be worth it. That's because that's not worth it to me. I can easily afford this. Your boy's not broke here or anything like that. And I could do videos on it and, take it out of the box and play some games with it and stuff. And I guess people would watch, but I don't feel the need to. I don't feel like I'm going to add anything into the conversation. Once you see one teardown, what's the next teardown going to be different? Calling you out, Spawn Wave and MVG, because they're both doing teardowns of this. But I say all that about the PlayStation 5 Pro to get to the yet part that's in the title of this video, because I'm not completely writing off this system as it stands. Right now, the day I'm filming this video, November 5th is when I'm filming this, I'm not interested in it. It's not worth buying for me. But there's the future of PlayStation. Once you start to show upcoming games like potentially Wolverine, once we get a glimpse at Grand Theft Auto 6, if there is a significant boost in performance or in fidelity or in resolution of these games, then we have a whole different conversation, because these are upcoming games. These are games that can be, tinkered with the PlayStation 5 Pro in mind to take full advantage of it. And I feel like that is where things can get very interesting. I'm not expecting 60 frames per second out of Grand Theft Auto 6 on the PS5 Pro. And I think anyone expecting that is just dreaming, really, because I feel like this is going to struggle on high-end PCs as well. But if it does look better and it does run a bit better than the baseline PS5 version, that's worth upgrading for. If Wolverine looks and runs better on the PS5 Pro in a somewhat of a substantial difference, then we have a completely different conversation, because then it becomes actually more attractive to me. I'm not really interested in the back catalog of stuff. I'm interested in the future games that will utilize this upcoming technology, because I think that's going to be where things get potentially very exciting, especially if developers want to, harness the power of the PS5 Pro. You have the upscaling stuff, you have the PS4 enhanced stuff as well. From what we've seen so far, it's honestly not super impressive. The PS4 games running on the PS5 Pro, we've only really seen screenshots and stuff of it. This has been something that we also have known. I don't know why people were acting like this was a completely new revelation that PS4 games would also be enhanced on here. But I think it'll take time, because a lot of this is kind of, hindering on Sony's upscaling. Sony is doing their own upscaling stuff for a lot of these games to enhance things. And as it starts out, you're not going to really reap the rewards of it right off the jump. But as time goes on, these games will progressively, potentially, get more and more impressive, while the AI starts to learn different things and is used in different manners. That's a whole nother subject. AI in gaming, I think, is going to be a complete game changer when it comes to things. I don't know if you guys have been following how somebody made Doom in AI and it could render things on the fly, or taking retro games and putting them into an AI sort of generator to do different graphics and stuff like that. I think that is going to be a huge part of the future. So Sony having a proprietary AI system for the PlayStation 5 Pro could end up being very interesting. I'm not going to dog someone for buying this thing. It's your money at the end of the day. If you're a diehard PlayStation fan, if you're a Mystic Ryan, I expect you to buy this. I expect you to buy this on day one, because not only is it in your, your brand line of what you like, but it also will be good for your channel and stuff like that. I don't think that this is going to be something that's going to be very hard to get your hands on, at least initially, because you have to see more. I guess my biggest worry about the PlayStation 5 Pro is if it doesn't do good enough. And I'm not sure what sort of metrics Sony is expecting. I can't imagine they're expecting more than 10 or 15 million, because that would just be absolutely insane, especially in this economy at this price point. But I do kind of worry that if it doesn't go exactly the way that Sony was maybe planning, if developer support will start to drop off for this and they won't necessarily prioritize PS5 Pro specific features. Now, the AI could circumvent that, but I would like to see companies try and get the most out of this system, because they kind of did do that with the PlayStation 4 Pro, which was another system I never upgraded to, but also I was in a different place in life. Your boy couldn't afford the PS4 Pro during that time frame, people, but the PS5 Pro is a little more up my alley. But I don't think it's a bad piece of hardware. And honestly, I wish Nintendo would have done something like this in the intermittent, because you obviously have needed it. I just don't think you necessarily need it quite as much as with a PlayStation 5, because you're still getting, ray tracing and great visuals and great performance on most games. And, some games will be enhanced by it, but I want to see the future. Show me the future of PlayStation when it comes to the games. Or, are you going to PSVR 2 this, or Concord this, or PS Vita this, or, just leave it out to die? I guess time will tell with that. And hey, maybe I could get a PS5 Pro if they discontinue it for a cheap price. But those are just my thoughts. That is why I am not buying one yet. I don't feel the need to upgrade. I don't feel the need to go back and play through the PS5 exclusives that I've already played on the PS5 Pro to get a little bit of better visual fidelity, or maybe a little bit of a better frame rate, because honestly, it's probably going to be hard to notice things like that unless you're really looking for it, which if that's what you do, that's fine. But for me, this is a pass for now. Show me some upcoming games though, and maybe I'll get a little bit more interested. Let me know if you plan on picking up the PlayStation 5 Pro in the comment section down below. Did you pre-order one? Did you get the 30th anniversary edition? Or are you going to wait for it to see, how future games utilize it? Or do you have no interest in this at all? And if you don't, thank you for watching to the end of this video. I sincerely appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button if you are new. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.